You're listening to Life, Adulting, and Everything in Between, a podcast that challenges you to elevate to the next level with host and certified life coach Erica Q. Let's get into this week's episode.
Hello. Welcome, all you amazing, wonderful, beautiful people. I am Erica Q, the empowerment coach, and I have been on a little hiatus. I have been totally under the weather, so I have not been able to upload my latest podcast, but I am here today, refreshed and ready to go. So, this is episode 3 of the Life, Adulting, and Everything in Between podcast, hosted and produced by yours truly, the hostess with the mostest. And so now our topic today is boundaries. How important it is to have boundaries in our life with everything and everyone and even ourselves. So, I'll be talking about boundaries today in this episode. Not really exactly how we set boundaries, but I'll actually just be focusing on once you do set boundaries, kind of what that looks like and maybe a little bit of pushback you might receive from those who aren't used to you setting boundaries. And I'm looking over here because I have my iPad because I have to look at notes because if I don't, then one, I don't stay on topic, and two, I go longer than this 10 minutes, and then three, I'll forget what I wanted to say. So I have notes and I'll be looking at my notes. Okay. So getting into boundaries. Okay, we've all heard of that word, and I know some people just throw it out there and probably don't even really know what a boundary is. It's become so cliche, and but boundaries are necessary and they are important. I mean, just for our mental health. But boundaries, what are boundaries? They're like limits, or if you want to think about it, it's like a fence. Okay, it's a fence, and it's a blah 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 braces. It's an invisible fence that lets others know like where you start and stop, where your limits are. Okay, so think of it like an invisible fence. Okay, and each day, of course, is each each day. Oh my gosh, can I get it out? Is shaped by our choices. And when, you know what, I just put it right here on my notes. So I'm just going to read it off my notes. Each day is shaped by your choices. And when you let others and even yourself violate your boundaries, you compromise your happiness, your peace, and your control. So if we think about that, um, and knowing that each day is shaped by the choices that we are making, then sometimes, you know, how we kind of get upset or we feel like, oh my gosh, somebody invaded my space, or they stepped on my toes, or hello, boundaries. What about boundaries? But here's the thing, the person that you feel is violating your boundaries, have you even had a conversation with them about, like, you know what, this is what I will do, this is what I won't do, this is what I'll accept, this is what I won't accept. You know, this line we don't cross, this line is okay to cross. And so if you've never really had that conversation with somebody that you feel is impeding on your boundaries, then one, you can't get upset, and two, I mentioned that when you let others and even yourself violate your boundaries. See, the thing is that sometimes we tell ourselves that there are some things that we won't do, and then we find ourselves doing those very things. I have been guilty of this lots of times when I tell people, no, I can't commit to something. because I have XYZ to do. And then what happens? They still are asking me to do something, even though we clearly have had this conversation. And, then I find myself trying to figure out how I can just do everything. I can't do everything and I won't do everything. So sometimes I violate my own boundary, or we violate our own boundaries when we don't even stick to the boundaries that we have set. So, anyways, boundaries are important, of course, for protecting our mental health and overall well being. I talked about that in the beginning. And then boundaries aren't easy, of course, to initiate and can result in pushback or hurt feelings. That's usually from the people who are not used to you setting boundaries or you telling them no. I just had a conversation with a coworker recently, and usually I would move heaven and earth to try to just make everybody happy and fit everybody into whatever it is I need to. But you know what? No, not at the cost of my mental and physical health, because it can be overwhelming when we are trying to do for everyone else, for ourselves, for deadlines, different things like that. And it's like, no, no, you just get burnt out and tired. And when you're burnt out and tired, is anybody coming and saying, hey, I see that you're burnt out and tired. Here, let me help you. No, sometimes they're just piling more on because they don't even know. And we don't even speak up or advocate for ourselves. And when you think about boundaries, think about that. Okay? Like, I am setting a boundary. I am advocating for myself. I am saying what I accept and what I don't accept. Okay, the limits that you cannot push when it comes to me. Okay, so some things to consider when asserting your boundary. Like I said, I'm not going to tell you how to set boundaries. I'm just going to talk to you about this things to consider as you assert those boundaries. Okay, one, be direct. There is no point, like, we are all adults, there's no point to beat around the bush. Now, you don't have to be rude in your directness. However, you do need to be direct. There's no point in taking the long way around something. Just be direct, straight to the point. you know this is, and you don't even have to say, look, this is my boundary. You don't have to use those words, but definitely be direct as you begin to assert your boundaries. Number two, prepare for pushback. It always happens, it's inevitable, especially if you're dealing with people, like I said, that you've never said no to. Nobody likes to hear the word no, nobody likes to be told no. And so sometimes that's something that people have to get used to. And so, just be ready for that. Okay, don't crumble and don't negate your boundaries just because you're getting some pushback. It's inevitable. Three, don't over explain like I just did. Oh my gosh. Don't over explain why this is what is okay and this is what is not okay for me. So, why do I need to over explain that? Okay. So, I'm just going to stop right there, or else I will be violating that one that I put down, that note. Four, reinforce. Okay. You're going to have to reinforce. This is probably something new for you, something new for the person that you are asserting this boundary to. And let me tell you, boundaries go across the board. And oh gosh, what is his name? Has a really great book. These two gentlemen have a really great book. I've read all of them, but they have boundaries, period. Boundaries in dating, boundaries in marriage, boundary with kids, boundary with teenagers. I mean, so everybody needs boundaries. You just don't get to do what you want to do, especially when it involves me. Okay, so reinforce. And five, remember your why. Make sure you are confident and grounded in why you are setting these particular boundaries. That is so important. Okay. So I think that is all that I wanted to say. I see this little time ticking down. And if you remember in the last video, I told you that I'm going to do a really good job sticking to the 10 minutes and I will not be going over. So I cannot be playing games. So, one thing a thought that I want to leave you with is that you deserve to prioritize your needs and what is best for your well-being. And I'm reading this really good book about character. And so if I think about that book, that's a lot of eyes in there. Like, I deserve to prioritize my time for my well-being. Um, ooh, it's so hard. And I hope that that doesn't sound selfish, but you are not being selfish when you have boundaries. It's just like if you have expectations, or things that you will or will not do. And so it is okay to prioritize your well-being and your mental health. Now, if you're just saying no to everything just because you're being a stick in the mud, that's different. Okay, so that's not what I'm talking about, and that's not what we're talking about here. But boundaries, so important. I am at 11 minutes. This is supposed to be 10 minutes with a life coach, so I have got to cut it off. But, anyways, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. The podcast will be a little different than the video because, I won't be on camera. So, anyways, thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, every first and third Wednesday, unless I am totally sick, which I was. However, no excuses. Every first and third Wednesday, there will be a new episode of Life, Adulting, and Everything in Between. 10 minutes with a life coach with your girl, Erica Q, the empowerment coach. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'll be back first Wednesday of the month in March. So have a good one, and thank you so much.